Hello.
What's up?
The way you like flung yourself forward.
It's only 8:40 and I'm already tired. And I'm
me
over
too.
here drinking an energy.
Well, that's because we went out to dinner and got all sleepy.
Woo! Anyway, how's it going, guys? Hope you're having a great week.
I guess I hope you're having a great week.
One of us has to be cynical. One of us has to be.
And of course it's going to be me.
Yeah, we've got some exciting stuff that we're going to talk to you about.
Yeah, this episode's it's definitely goofier than
the last one.
Yeah. It's
Maybe.
more yeah, if these are going up in order.
Right.
Yes. So this week we're bringing you humorous plagues. So it just sounds counterintuitive, those two terms. But
do you have just the one that you're talking about?
yes, I just got the one.
Okay,
I didn't do anything else.
But mine are short, so
mine's pretty short too. So
this could be a short episode.
This is going to be a wham bam thank you ma'am episode. Get in, get out.
Oh, we're trying to be good. Guys, I'm sorry. We're trying real hard to keep our mouths a little bit cleaner, and that's hard.
It is hard.
It's so hard.
It's hard when you could make a sailor blush. I'm very proud of that.
Right.
But
To keep
if
my
we're
mama
ever gonna be ad friendly and mom friendly.
Mom friendly. Look, she calls me the other day, which I told you this earlier.
Yes.
But like I
What are
wanted
you
to
meowing about?
tell the listeners. My mom called me the other day and she's like, "So you guys are always asking for constructive criticism," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, we're trying to be. I'm not saying the F word as much." And she's like, "That's not what I was going to say, but I appreciate that." But so yeah, we're trying to be better, guys. I'm sorry.
We're doing our best. Bear with us. I'm sure most people don't care, but
Right.
it would be nice to make money off of this podcast someday. And I think our first 20 episodes are going to be absolutely
no
not.
thanks. No thanks.
No.
I mean, there's probably some.
There's one episode we didn't have to mark explicit. And that was the first one.
Oh. Did we not have to mark it explicit, or did you just forget to
No,
mark it
we
explicit?
didn't have to.
Okay.
As far as I remember, I didn't have to. I wish I had brought a hair tie in here with me.
I don't have an extra one, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I live here, so I can go find one. So I'm gonna start. I am starting, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So, the dancing plague of 1518.
I remember learning about this in school.
I don't.
I do.
So in July of 1518, the residents of Strasbourg, which was then part of the Holy Roman Empire, were struck by a sudden and seemingly uncontrollable urge to dance. I imagine it was like river dancing.
I'm just picturing some Wednesday Addams interpretive dance.
That too.
Just in the streets.
The hysteria kicked off when a woman known as Frau Trophea.
I wish y'all could see the emphasis, the excitement on her face when she's saying these things.
Stepped into the street and began to silently twist, twirl, and shake. She kept up her solo dance-a-thon for nearly a week.
Oh.
However, eventually nearly 36 other members of the community joined in.
Okay.
By August, the dancing epidemic had claimed as many as 400 victims. With no other explanation for the phenomenon, local physicians blamed it on hot blood and suggested the afflicted simply gyrate the fever away. I've never seen the word gyrate typed out. And I typed it.
It was like the look of realization on your face. You were like, oh, that's it. Okay.
A stage was constructed and professional dancers were brought in. I don't know how they thought professional dancers would make this situation any better, but the town even hired a band to provide backing music. But it wasn't long before the marathon started to take its toll. Many dancers collapsed from sheer exhaustion.
Dehydration, I'm sure.
Yeah. Some died from strokes and heart attacks. But the strange episode didn't end until September, when the dancers were simply whisked away to a mountaintop shrine to pray for absolution. People died. It's not funny.
It's the emphasis that you're giving it. She's like waving her head.
It's episodes like this where we should be filmed. The Strasbourg dancing plague might sound like the stuff of legend, but it's well documented in 16th century historical records, and it's not the only known incident of its kind. Similar manias took place in Switzerland, Germany, and Holland, though few were as large or as deadly as the one in 1518. But, are you okay?
I'm sorry.
Okay. But what led people to this? To dance themselves to death. According to historian John Waller, the explanation most likely is with Saint Vitus, a Catholic saint who pious 16th century Europeans believed had the power to curse people with a dancing plague. When combined with the horrors of disease and famine, both of which were tearing through Strasbourg in 1518, the St. Vitus superstition may have triggered a self-induced hysteria that took hold of much of the city. But other theories have suggested that some of the dancers were members of a religious cult, or even that they accidentally ingested ergot, which is also something that, ergot poisoning. It was blamed for the Salem witch trials. Ergot poisoning, which was a toxic mold that grows on damp rye and produces spasms and hallucinations. Some people believe it was a curse, too. Just an out-and-out curse.
I think we should do an episode where you read a story, like, with as much emphasis as what you're putting on this.
Well, I'm done.
Okay, so the fact that I'm over here dying is very relevant because the first plague I'm going to talk to you about is the laughter epidemic.
See, I was setting you up for it. I was getting you in the spirit.
Right. So I'm going to talk about the 1962 laughter epidemic of Tanzania. Although this may sound like a funny situation, in reality, it was not a good time had by all. Not even the majority. It all started in 1962 in a girls' school in Tanganyika. I think I said it wrong earlier. Which is now Tanzania. What it's believed to have happened is that one schoolgirl went into an anxiety-filled laughter, which quickly spread to classmates in a domino effect. It eventually spread through the school and onto the community, and eventually moved on to other at-risk communities. This reached possibly 1,000 people and lasted several months. 14 schools were closed down. I don't know if it was temporarily or what due to it.
Oh my gosh.
The afflicted showed symptoms of reoccurring episodes of laughing and crying that could last anywhere from a few hours to up to 2 weeks-ish. Then,
I peed myself. Did anybody pee themselves?
Probably. Then, they would They would show restlessness, aimless running, and sometimes violence. But strangely, there was no proof of an organic cause. Research on the plague was done by Christian Hampelman of Texas A&M University, who described the outbreak as a case of mass psychogenic or sociogenic illness. This would strike in high-stress environments. At the time of the outbreak, Tanganyika had gained independence, and the schools were run by the British. Therefore, there were like unknown expectations and uncertainties of what was going to happen, what was going on. So, you know how sometimes you just get so aggravated, so frustrated that all you can do is laugh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I imagine happened here.
Yeah.
Now, this next one, my last one that I have, and it's super short. It's quite humorous. The biting mania in 15th century nuns. Had you ever heard of this?
I had not.
Well, in 15th century Germany, a mania broke out starting with one nun who had randomly gotten the overpowering urge to bite her fellow nuns. Like, have you ever just gotten the urge to bite somebody?
Absolutely.
All the freaking time.
Yeah.
You see that? Freaking. So then, other nuns throughout this monastery began to follow suit. Once word started spreading about this, it carried throughout Germany, the Netherlands, and Italy. It was believed that the nuns were possessed, and exorcisms were performed, but the biting did continue.
They probably just went feral.
Well, the only thing to get the mania to subside was threats of physical punishment, such as beating or even drowning. But if you ask me, you've got a whole bunch of nuns who are living in these monasteries, convents, whatever you want to call them. Vow of celibacy, chastity. We're not, we don't do things like
that. It seems sus to me.
They just needed something to get their rocks off.
They all just run around biting people. Maybe they're vampires.
Maybe. But, like, for real, deep down...
I mean, it's probably something like that, but...
Who doesn't enjoy just a little nibble here and there?
I guess so. Don't bite too hard, though.
I said nibble.
It sounds like these nuns were full out fucking just biting each other.
Hey, you said
God
it! Oh,
bless
with me
it.
this time.
Sounds like they were just running around biting each other.
I mean... And sometimes you just gotta bite people.
Did they have rabies? Were they foaming at the mouth?
Man, I don't know.
Well,
They got bit by a rabid raccoon.
We gotta fill some air space on this one.
I mean, listen. Google humorous plagues. I can't spell. I just want y'all to know.
Me either. I'm over here on the struggle bus. Hummus plagues. What is that? Apparently hummus is a peacemaker, y'all. I misspelled humorous.
I did too. I ain't finding nothing. And like when I initially did my research on this, I got a bunch.
I can go into more detail on the dancing mania. So there's an article from the Lancet. So this goes back. This goes way back to 1021. Okay? I'm just going to read word for word. So like I'll put this in our show notes, but this was written by John Waller. This is when I mentioned him. So on Christmas Eve in 1021, 18 people gathered outside a church in the German town of that and danced with wild abandon. The priest, unable to perform mass because of the irreverent din from outside, ordered them to stop. Ignoring him, they held hands and danced a ring dance of sin. clapping, leaping, and chanting in unison. The enraged priest recorded a local chronicler cursed them to dance for an entire year as punishment for their outrageous levity, and it worked. Not until the following Christmas did the dancers regain control of their limbs. Exhausted and repentant, they fell into a deep sleep, and some of them never woke up. It says it might seem improbable to us, but there was nothing in this story that medieval people found hard to believe. Compulsive dancing joined that litany of natural and human disasters to be explained in terms of celestial or supernatural forces. But even if much of the chronicler's account is clearly the stuff of legend, we should not dismiss it as purely invention. And there are sources to indicate that this obscure chronicler may have embellished a very real event.
I like that it was called choreomania.
What?
I just found that on, in my Google search.
Yeah.
A dancing plague called choreomania.
Why is this all Germans? So, later, there is a chronicle of fatal dancing in the German town of Erfurt in 1247. 200 people are said to have danced impiously on a bridge over the Moselle River in Maastricht. I'm German, but I can't say that. Until it collapsed, drowning all of them. I'm not by heritage German. Language, nope. But yeah, so this bridge, they were dancing on this bridge. And they did it until it collapsed and drowned every single one of them.
Oh, shoot.
And then dozens of medieval authors recount the terrible compulsion to dance that in 1374 swept across western Germany to the Low Counties and northeastern France. Chronicles agree that thousands of people danced in agony for days or weeks, screaming of terrible visions and imploring priests and monks to save their souls. A few decades later, the abbot of a monastery near the city of Trier recalled an amazing epidemic in which a collection of hallucinating dancers hopped and leapt for at least 6 months. Some of them dying after breaking ribs or loins. Oh. They broke their loins. On a far larger scale was the outbreak of Strasbourg in 1518, which consumed as many as 400 people. Let's see. Oh, and that was all during the summer, too. I didn't know that. Ooh, I bet that was stinky. There were also several isolated cases during the 1500s and the 1600s from Switzerland and the Holy Roman Empire of mania gripping an individual or the whole family. And nobody talks about these much today.
Right. Well, I just found one that I'd never heard of. It's called dromomania.
Dromomania?
Or pathological tourism. So I found this on mentalfloss.com.
Mm-hmm.
It says, most people like to take a holiday now and again. Some people, however, just can't stop. Dromomania refers to the uncontrollable urge to travel. A pathological tourism, and it was all the rage in France between 1886 and 1909. The man who exemplified dromomania for the European medical establishment was a gas fitter from Bordeaux, one Jean-Albert Daudas, D-A-D-A-S. Mm-hmm. He was admitted to the Saint Andre Hospital in Bordeaux in 1886 after he had just returned from a truly epic journey. He was exhausted, of course, but also confused, vague, and foggy. He couldn't remember where he'd been and what he'd done. A doctor at the hospital managed to piece together his story and submit it to a medical journal under the charming name. I'm not going to read what it said. Les Aliens Voyageurs, or the Mad Travelers.
Oh.
His compulsive traveling allegedly began after he allegedly parted company with the French army near Mons in 1881. From there he went east to Prague, then Berlin, through what was then East Prussia, finally to Moscow. In Moscow he was arrested. A Tsar had just been assassinated, and he had the misfortune of being mistaken for a member of the movement responsible for the murder.
Oh.
And he was forced to march back to exile in Turkey. This may have actually suited his particular mental illness just fine. In Constantinople, he was somehow rescued by the French consulate and put on the road to Vienna, where he again took up work as a gas fitter. His story inspired several other cases of dromomania in France at the time, and if it wasn't an actual epidemic in the sense that a large number of people were actually suffering from it, there seemed to be an epidemic about talking about it amongst medical circles. It seemed to die out by 1909, right around the time that the alienists or proto-psychologists started to actively investigate it. His adventure also seemed to take place at a time when the medical community, some driven by pseudosciences like eugenics, were interested in parsing out all manner of mental illness to discrete manias. He could have also been dealing with a bit of drapetomania, an obsession with running away from home, though he was definitely not suffering from clinomania, a refusal to leave one's bed. Of course, his dromomania probably would have been much easier on him if he'd also been suffering from cardiacoethys, the compulsion to see maps everywhere.
Oh.
What is this? Oh.
What?
Do you have another one before I go on this one?
I don't.
This one's too much.
I don't.
Coro, or genital retraction syndrome.
Oh.
Another culture-bound syndrome. Coro refers to the irrational fear that one's genitalia is shrinking or retracting into one's body.
Oh, God.
Sounds like we got a bunch of growers.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a grower. Not everybody's a shower.
Most men are growers.
If anyone
Most
else...
people with weenies are growers.
Right. Well, I mean, and if anyone else listens to the Shane Dawson podcast, let me plug him real quick, because they have grower merch.
all his ads are, the code is grower.
Yeah. Like, all his little ads where you can, like, type in a code to get a discount. The code is grower. Anyway, people have suffered this, and usually in mass hysteria epidemics, since around 300 BCE. It's particularly prevalent in Africa and Asia, and is usually attended by severe anxiety and fear of impending death or loss of sexual ability. One of the most recent outbreaks of Coro, or as it's called in Western medical circles, genital retraction syndrome, was in 1967 in Singapore, when more than 1,000 men tried to is it stave, S-T-A-V-E, off shrinkage using clamps and pegs.
Oh my God.
Women have also been victims of the panic, often manifesting the fear that their breasts or nipples are disappearing. However, Coro is more likely to strike men, and according to psychologists, more likely to strike men in societies where their worth is determined by their reproductive ability. Psychologists usually blame cultural circumstance, pointing out that epidemics tend to follow periods of social tension or widespread anxiety. Chinese medicine, however, blamed female fox spirits, while in Africa it was usually considered the result of none other than always witchcraft.
Yeah, of course.
That's too much.
Yeah.
Why are you gonna be so scared of being a grower?
Hashtag grower.
Hashtag grower, she said. I'll have to remember that for the TikTok. Hashtag grower. God.
So, is that all we have?
I mean, there's another one on this website too, but I don't know. Oh, it talks about demonic possession.
Oh?
Motor hysteria.
Oh, gosh.
The Middle Ages were kind of boring and probably even worse for the sometimes unwilling inhabitants of nunneries. So, mewling like cats was one way to pass the time. Historical reports indicate that the nunneries were rife with motor hysteria, a kind of mass psychogenic illness that had some women exhibiting the signs of demonic possession, others acting out in sexually disturbing ways, and one convent mewling like cats and trying to claw their way up trees. The period of nuns behaving badly. That sounds like a movie. Nuns behaving badly. Is there a porn out there named
Probably. That? I'm afraid to look it up. I don't want to ruin my Google search history.
It lasted about 300 years, beginning at around 1400.
I was not expecting you to say 300 years.
And it affected covenants across Europe. One of the last, perhaps the most deadly, in 1749, a woman at a convent in Würzburg, Germany, was beheaded.
Always Germany.
Right. Was beheaded on suspicion of being a witch after an episode of mass fainting, foaming at the mouth, and screaming. Usually, however, these episodes ending in someone calling in a priest for some exorcisms. I totally saw exorcisms and read orgasms.
What's on your mind?
Right. Growers. Hold on. So, Waller, somebody that was investigating into the dancing plagues, also came up with a theory as to what would drive these nuns to distraction. A combination of stress and strong religious tradition of trance and possession. Women who were sent to nunneries did not always go willingly, and convents, especially starting in the 1400s, were very harsh places. The rigorous devotion to spiritual betterment wasn't for everyone, and the stress and privations these women experienced could sometimes cause them to act out. When they would, it was often with behavior that stereotypically mimicked demonic possession. They believed implicitly in the possibility of possession, and so made themselves susceptible to it, wrote Waller. So,
Good
nuns
Lord.
be crazy.
Some of them. I mean, I guess if they're there willingly, sure, that's fine. If they're not, they're just like cats on a hot tin roof.
See, nowadays you start trying to climb trees and meowing like a cat, you're a furry. Yeah. If I never hear someone referred to as a furry again in my life,
I'm not kink shaming.
I'm not. But my children come home, and apparently that's the funny thing. Like, you know how back in our day it was, oh, you're gay, and it was that was supposed to be like the worst of the worst.
Right.
Now it's, oh, you're a furry. Maddie comes home every day, so and so called me a furry. Gemma came home the other day and was like, oh, I got called a furry today, and I'm like, what? Why do you let that bother you? Why does that hurt your feelings?
Yeah, why? I don't know.
Derail. Kids are so mean.
Kids are mean.
Easton came home and said some little kid told him the other day that his mama was gay. And I was like, do you even know what that means? And Easton was like, no. And I was like, being gay means, keep in mind that Easton's in kindergarten, okay, guys? Yeah. So I'm like, being gay is like when girls like girls or boys like boys. And he was like, oh. And I was like, do we care if girls like girls or boys like boys? And he was like, no. And I'm like, exactly. And he goes, I don't care. And I was like, it's just not that big of a deal. I was like, now, is your mama gay? And he goes, no. And I'm like, exactly. And he goes, I don't care if people are gay as long as the boys don't like me. I'm like, I mean, fair.
Yeah, totally fair.
My kid is definitely not
as far as far as right now.
As of right now, because he's definitely at the age of
noticing little girls.
Oh, told one little girl the other day. It's a friend of ours' daughter. Well, looked her straight in the face and was like, "I'm going to kiss you on the mouth," and I'm like, She came running
I would
over
have
to
been
tell
like,
me.
no, you're not.
She came over running to tell me he had also said the F word, too. So,
I'm not surprised.
yeah. She came running over to tell me, and I'm like, bro, you cannot be doing that. But also, on the same token, today at soccer, he's like making his way to sit next to her. And so then she would scoot her chair back, so he would scoot his chair back. He thinks that she is just the cutest thing.
She don't want nothing to do with him.
She really is so cute. I just love this child. Absolutely love this child. But Easton is like, she's older than him, first of all, so she ain't got no time for that. But like, and I'm not one that's like, oh, you got a girlfriend. He's freaking 5.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But don't be kissing on no girls. I'm the only girl you need. I'm your mama. The only woman that you need in your life is your mama and your grandma's, okay?
At 5 years old,
Right.
yeah.
Lord.
I'm going to kiss you on the mouth.
Can you see him saying that?
Yeah.
Can you... And he hasn't even spent that much time with my brother-in-law, which, I mean, if he had, like, this would be expected, because my brother-in-law, he likes to party. He likes to party.
Gosh, I can't wait. I can't
ladies.
wait to see what's in Easton's
Oh
future.
my! How many grandchildren am I going to have that no one knows about?
Yes.
And what are they going to think that their daddy's name is? Because you know he's not going to give them his name.
Hey, you just never know.
He might grow up and surprise us. I don't care. I'm gonna love him either way. But
Well,
if he goes in the direction we think he might, I'm gonna love him either way. But I'm gonna make sure he knows that his mama thinks he's a hoe. There's that. But yeah, that's all we got, guys. We appreciate you coming.
it's a short one this week,
Hey,
but it was a good one.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't laughed that hard in a hot minute. I had tears streaming down my face at one point in time. Couldn't breathe. I'm sorry for
I like
the wheezing
putting on
in
a
the
good
background.
show sometimes.
I really wish, like, this is one of those episodes that I really wish that we did video, because you guys would have loved to see the emphasis, or the emphasis, as I said it earlier, that she put on, like, in her face and with her.
Oh, shit.
Dang! She just knocked her mic over.
I was adjusting the thing. I was doing it one-handed and just straight and just knocked y'all over.
Well, look us up on the socials.
Instagram,
Facebook,
TikTok,
Twitter,
email
Wanderers of Weird.
at gmail.com.
Share us out.
Tell your friends.
Tell your
baseball coach.
Tell your second cousin.
Tell your mom's second cousin.
That would be your third cousin, wouldn't it?
Whatever.
Tell your mom's boss. Don't tell your mom.
No.
We're not going to tell my mom's boss about it.
Um,
Unless she already has.
tell your dad's boss.
My dad's boss already knows about it, because guess who my dad's boss is?
Your husband?
Yep.
God, that's weird. So.
But my dad's boss has told a lot of my dad's coworkers about us.
There we go.
One of our listeners from day one is from one of my dad's coworkers.
Hi, how you doing?
What's going on?
I
I hope you're still listening. I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah. I hope that this was your cup of tea.
I hope I hope this is still the genre that you enjoyed.
Why'd you say it like that?
Because
You
that
were
was
condescending.
that was the review that he gave us. He's been looking for something in this, or he likes
this
this
genre.
or something like that.
Hey, whatever. I'll take it.
Right. We're here for it. But share us out. Send us reviews,
Yeah.
ideas, spooky stories.
Yeah, I really want your spooky stories. So give us some either spooky spaghettis or your lived personal experiences. Either way, we'll take them.
We just want spooky stuff.
Yeah.
I like spooky stuff. Says the person who won't watch horror movies.
Yeah. That's kind of... But, I mean, I kind of get it. I don't really watch them anymore, but it's mostly because I cannot sit and watch a movie for like an hour and a half.
You know what's crazy?
So boring.
Well, you know what's crazy?
What?
So there's another podcast that I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, every so often, what they call spooky sodes.
Mm-hmm.
And they will have listeners send in their personal experiences or stories or whatever, like much like what we're asking for.
Yeah. But don't get
I can't listen to those episodes.
Really?
9 times out of 10 10 times out of 10 when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm at home by myself working.
Fair enough.
And so when I listen to those episodes, I get paranoid. I get so paranoid. And I'm like, what was that noise that happened behind me? And it was just the house settling or the dog or, the wind blowing.
Yeah.
But I just listened to a spooky-sode a couple, like last week before, and they were doing it like remotely at a haunted hotel. Mm-hmm. And they were telling stories of what had happened in that hotel and like areas around them and stuff like that. That did not bother me. But when they got to the listener stories, because this was like a 3-hour long episode.
Yeah.
I listened to the first one and then I was like, nope. And I passed right on by it. I can't do it. I don't understand.
I mean, I get it.
But I can sit here and tell you about my spooky stories all day long.
Right. Because like now that I live with someone, I'll watch, like, I've been watching a lot more true crime. But I am super paranoid to make sure that he has locked the doors.
Right.
Because he is so bad about not locking the doors. And I'm just like, what if somebody comes in here and murders us in our sleep?
See, I can't, like, go to movie theaters and watch scary movies because I'm afraid that somebody's going to, like, try and, like, kill everybody in the theater.
Not unreasonable.
Right? American Horror Story Freak Show. We watched that when it came out.
Freak Show.
I hated it because I would like get up to go pee in the middle of the night and be so afraid that clown dude was going to be like,
oh, I forgot you've got a clown thing.
Oh, yeah. But like, I mean, it doesn't anything like that. Like, I get so paranoid. Like, the only season that hasn't really affected me in that type of way was Coven.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm more into, I've like transitioned from like needing to watch like the goriest horror movies to I'll give me a good old like cheesy, B-real movie. Like, I don't know. There was one with the human blob or some shit. It's like so dumb.
You know what kind of movies I like? Stoner movies, and I'm not a stoner.
They're okay.
I love stoner movies. Fun fact, this is not a stoner movie, but I just watched, what is it? The Lost Boys.
Yeah, I saw you post that you had never seen that.
I'd never watched that movie. I have heard people talk about it and how it was just so fantastic, and I knew it was like a cult classic. Mm-hmm. But I had never watched it. And my friend Josh was like, I can't believe you've never watched this movie.
I've seen it once.
And so
maybe
I
twice.
watched it a couple weeks ago. I had already put the kids to bed. TJ was working late. So, I'm the only one awake. And I watched it. It was real good. I'm going to let Maddie watch it because I feel like it's something she would like. I don't think the littles would be so into it.
Yeah, she would probably
they kind
like
of
it.
get... The eyes are a little scary looking whenever they transition, but like it's kid friendly.
The eyes are gonna get you.
Don't do it. The eyes are the window to the soul.
The eyes,
Brandy.
We all been seeing the eyes.
Oh! I didn't know what you were referencing, but now
the
I do.
Eyes.
Ugh.
Isaiah's seen the eyes. I've seen the eyes. You've seen the eyes.
I've seen the eyes.
Maybe we'll get into the eyes and let y'all in on the secret.
Ugh.
But not right now. Okay, we're gonna. Oh, you've got a thing.
Oh, a charity. Yeah.
I was gonna cut it off.
I forgot our nonprofit.
Yeah, you got your nonprofit.
I forgot all about that. Hold on. Also, while this is loading, we've had some of the nonprofits that we plug and tag respond to us.
Yeah,
and that's been pretty awesome.
The sea turtle one did.
Yes, the one that you did last episode that we just released.
The cow rescue.
Yeah. Or that was that my nonprofit that I
picked?
Ooh, look at me picking good ones where they respond. I'm sorry, my Gmail is loading ridiculously slow, guys.
That's because my internet is ridiculously slow.
Alright, so for this one, if I can get this to open. I really need this to hurry up because I also have to pee now.
Oh, I'm just thirsty. I've got like dry mouth over here.
Thirsty.
I filled up this water bottle when I got in here.
All right, so from directrelief.org. Direct Relief is a humanitarian aid organization active in all 50 states and more than 80 countries with a mission to improve the health and lives of people affected by poverty or emergencies without regard to politics, religion, or ability to pay. So basically, you know, they help out with health and you know, stuff like that in areas that may need it for like disaster relief and stuff like that. Their website has a ton of like frequently asked questions that shows you exactly where their financial things go.
Yeah.
But literally that little statement is their mission that I just read to you. So it says that they have, as of 5 a.m. today, which today is April 29th, they have raised since January 1st $572 million.
Oh, wow.
Over $572 million in medical aid. They have provided over 187 million doses of medicine. They have provided over 2 million pounds of medicine and supplies with almost 6,000 deliveries and just over 1,500 healthcare providers supported. So this is a pretty good foundation, guys. Look them up. They help out not just here, but globally. And their website has all the possible information that you can need to make sure that what you're donating to is
something you want to support. Yeah.
So again, that was directrelief.org.
All right. And as per usual, we'll have all of the links in the show notes and it'll be posted on our socials.
All right. Well, see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.